Hi, I'm Johnny and you're watching the Hexy Beast. And on today's episode, I'm going to be doing a review of this game right here, Dice Hospital by Alley Cat Games. Anyway, let's get this one to the table. So this is Dice Hospital. Welcome to the world of Dice Hospital, where your patients are just numbers, literally. Use your doctor meeples to treat your dice patients as they keep incoming via ambulances. Expand your hospital to treat ever more patients by installing new rooms and specialists. Combinations of the right rooms and the best doctors allow you to heal lots of patients. When a patient is fully healed, they are discharged and earn you victory points. Using a novel worker placement style mechanic mixed with dice manipulation like mechanics, Dice Hospital offers a unique take on a fresh hospital theme. So anyway, let's crack it open. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is grab one of the playboards from the box. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these ambulance cards, these event cards, and these purple specialist cards, and we're going to remove them and put them back in the box because we don't need them for the solo game. So now we're going to take the scoreboard, the score tracker, and the round marker token, this thing, and we're going to place it on the board with the round marker, marking round 1. And right now we have 0 points, but as we go up, this token will move. So the next thing you want to do is take these medical report cards and set them up into 2 rows of 3 cards somewhere nearby. I do it above the scoreboard. Just like this. Then we're going to take all the meeples of different colours and set them up in supplies nearby. Also, don't forget to set up a supply of these body bag tokens and these blood bag tokens. Then we're going to take 3 of the white basic nurse meeples and we're going to place them in the nurse's station to start off. And now we take 11 dice of each colour. So we got 11 green, 11 red and 11 yellow, and we're going to put them in this nice doctor feeling, it feels like a lab coat, and we're going to put all these dice into this bag basically, like so. Whoops. Okay, and then we're just going to randomise these dice and pull 4 of them out at random. Okay, we now get to pick any 3 of these dice to set to a 3, a 4 and a 5. So I'm going to take green and 2 reds. Then after putting the remaining red dice in my bag, I'm just going to place these starting patients on this top row in my ward on 3, a 4 and a 5. So I'm just going to put 3, a 4 and a 5 there. Doesn't really matter where you put them. I'm just going to stick them there for now. Next you want to take the rest of the specialist cards with all different colours, shuffle them up, place them in a deck somewhere nearby with these room tiles also shuffled up, and then we're pretty much ready to get going. The game also comes with this handy player aid which will help you with some of the dice effects, the turn sequence and the scoring. So take this card and place it off to one side to help us out as we play. So the first phase of a turn is the intake phase, where we take 4 dice randomly from the bag and roll them, re-rolling any 6s or 1s. In this case we didn't have any 6s or 1s. We now get to choose 3 to admit to our hospital. I think, based on the fact that we actually have a medical report for 2 yellows, I'm going to take these 2 and the green one, leaving this red one to go back into the bag. And I'm just going to place them in the top row of our wards again, same as the ones we took for starting the game. The next phase is the improvement phase, at which point we take 1 card from the top of the specialist deck and 1 tile from the top here, from the room deck. And basically, now we've got to choose whether we want to take this specialist, which will gain us a red meeple, and it also has a special effect, or whether we get to choose this room, which in this case is actually a crash center, which lets us heal a dice of 1 or 2 up to 4 steps, which is actually very useful. So I'm going to take the room this time. I'm just going to slot it in as part of my board. This will then go onto the bottom of the deck, like so. Okay, so now we're on to the activation phase, which is where we can send out any of our staff into different departments, only 1 staff per department, so that we can do various things to these dice. So the healer dice will basically mean we'll tick it up 1 and it'll move into this area of the board. We can do this more than once around, but the first time any dice is actually healed, it has to go to this part of the board, the bottom row. So in the activation phase, what I'm going to do is I am going to first send this nurse to the oncology department, which will allow her to increase this yellow to a level 3 patient and put it in the bottom row to show that it's been healed this round. Then I'm going to take my second meeple and put it on the 3 and 4 space, and I think I'm going to increase this one to a 5. So we do that and we move it in the bottom row. Okay, so we got one nurse left, and what I'm going to do is I think I'm actually going to increase this red to a 5 as well. Okay, so we just take this, place on a 5, put it in the bottom row to show that it's been healed this round. And then we move on to the neglect phase, which is basically where any dice we haven't healed will tick down by 1 step. So this 4 will turn to a 3, this 5 will become a 4, and this 3 will become a 2. Then we go on to the discharge phase, which right now we haven't actually healed anything. So if we were to heal any of these dice above a 6, it will end up here. If we were to let them get neglected below a 1, we'll get a death token, which will basically deduct 2 points each at the end of the game. So let's carry on with the neglect phase. That's all done. We haven't got no discharge, and now we're on to shift change, which will basically bring everything back up top, ready for next round, and return all the nurses to their station. Okay, so to denote the fact that we're moving on to round 2, we're just going to turn this token until it displays a 2 in its indicator. So now it's back to intake phase. Oh, we rolled a 1, which means we're going to have to re-roll this red. We rolled a 1 again, let's try that. There we go, we got a 5. Anyway, in this round, I'm actually going to take the 2 red 5s and the yellow 2. So, we'll do that, and we'll turn the green to the bag. Okay, same as before, they go into the wards, so that was our yellow 2, and our red 5s. And this time, for the improvement phase, we have a virologist and a renal medicine department, which can increase 3 equal yellows up at the same time. In this case, I'm actually going to take the virologist because it means anytime it heals a green patient, it can heal another green patient. So we're going to put this back on the bottom of the stack. I'm going to take a green meeple, set this nearby, and put it on top of this card. This basically means you get an extra worker per round, and it also has a special ability. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so now we're back onto the activation phase. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my virologist and put him in the pharmacy. And because he's healing, because anytime he heals a green, he can also heal another green by 1 step. So he's healing 1 green, and I'm going to choose this one to go to a 4. And then I'm also going to heal this one to a 5. As well as that, I'm going to take one of these nurses and put him in here to heal this one up to a 5 again. I'm also going to take this nurse and put her by here to heal this up to a 6. And then I'm also going to take this one here and apply here to the clinic in order to put this red up to a 6 as well. Okay, same as before, we're going on to the neglect phase. So anything that isn't in this bottom row now ticks down by 1. So that's a 1, this is a 4, this is a 1, and this is a 4, if I could find it. And this one goes down to a 2. And then we go on to our discharge phase, which is nothing right now. And then everything is going to go back into the wards. As you can see, our wards are actually getting pretty full at this point. We then return all our nurses to the nurses station and take our virologist and place him back on his card. Now we're going to move on to round 3. So that's intake, in which case we're going to have to re-roll this one because it was a 6. And then it re-rolled as 1. Let's try again. Yeah, we got a 2. Okay, so in this case I'm actually going to take these 2 yellow. Actually, I'm going to take all yellow. And red goes back to the bag. Okay, so we just put all these into the ward as normal. As you can see, our wards all fill up. If we needed to add more patients to a ward that's already full up, we would then have to basically kill a patient and add a token to the mortuary. Anyway, let's move on to the improvement phase. And this time we get a crash center, we had one of them already, and a microbiologist, another green meeple card. Now this will allow us to heal up anything of an equal value of any colour 1 step. This is actually going to be useful, so I'm actually going to take the microbiologist again this time, placing this on the bottom of the deck. Ooh, things are getting good for us now. We got 2 specialists. as well as our 3 nurses. That's 5 actions a turn. Okay, so now we're back onto activation. And I'm going to take that microbiologist we just got, because if you look, if she increases a green die, she can increase a die of any other colour of the same value by 1 step. So, what she's going to do is she is first going to increase this green 5 up to a 6. Then, because of her power, she's going to also increase this yellow 5 up to a 6. I'm then going to use my nurse to heal this yellow into the discharge lounge. Then I'm going to use this one here in order to heal a 5 or a 6, and in which case I'm going to heal this yellow 6 here. And you'll see why in a second. Okay, so we've got 1 nurse left and a virologist which can heal another green. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am just going to use this virologist. Instead of using him for his ability, I'm just going to place him onto the red just to stop this one dying. And I'm also going to use that last nurse here. I think I'll do it to increase this 4 to a 5. Okay, so as you can see this time we've actually got patients in the discharge lounge. And this is important in the discharge phase, and I'll explain that when we get there. So now, same as before, we're on to neglect phase. So this is actually going to be the first time one of our patients dies. So this yellow is going to go back to the bag, and we're going to add one of these body bag tokens into the mortuary, and we're going to lose 2 points for each one of these at the end of the game. Same as before, everything else is going to tick down, including everything that we haven't touched. So this is going to go all down into oblivion, and everyone's going to die next turn, basically. This is looking like a fun hospital to be in. Okay, now we've actually discharged some patients for the first time. So in the discharge round, we're going to gain points based on the amount of patients we discharge, but you may also notice that we've actually completed one of these medical reports. These medical reports can only have 1 dice used on them, so you couldn't say if I use the same yellow dice on another report in the same round. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to reference this card here to tell us how many points we score for having 2 dice, which in this case is 3. So for the 2 dice, we get 3 points. So we're just going to place this marker on the number 3 space. And also, for completing the report, we're going to move this down, shuffle this in now. So now we can do them. And we're also going to get, if you look at it, an extra 2 points, which is going to put us up to 5 points. So now we're on to shift change, where we slide everything back up and return everyone to their rightful places, like all the nurses in the nurses station, and these guys go back on their cards. On to round 4. Okay, so you would basically keep playing turns like that until you get all the way to round 8. And when you do, you would take your total score, deduct any of these medical reports that you don't have. So for example, this would be -4 points, -2 points, -4 points, etc. Also, any of these body tokens are -2 points at the end of the game. And basically the goal of the game is to try and beat your score. Anyway, let's get back to the table where I can tell you what I think. Okay, so now that you've seen how the game is played, it's time for me to tell you what I think. And as always, the first category is aesthetics. And for this category, I've scored it an 8 out of 10. This is mainly because I find the art very light and entertaining. And I really enjoy the way that the patient in the picture is actually a little dice. I find that a really nice touch. And it really did make me really enjoy the game more. I also feel the nurse-shaped meeples really add a lot to the game. There's plenty of colour. It just really, had a nice feel to it. The nice little dice bag as well. This is made out of like lab coat material. It's really added to the overall feel of the game. Okay, so that brings us on to gameplay. And it's a shame to say that for gameplay, I've actually given it a 6 out of 10. But there's one main reason for this, and that's because, the solo mode is pretty much a beat your own score game. And although the gameplay is engaging and I really enjoy the turn-to-turn action, it has a great sense of pressure because of that 8-round time limit, I feel that beat your own score kind of doesn't really give me a reason to play it more than a couple of times, every now and again. So for that reason, for gameplay, that's why it's got a 6. And that brings us on to accessibility. And in this category, it got an 8 out of 10. I found the rulebook was straightforward and quite easy to follow. The only thing that I felt made it lose a point was that now and again, some of the descriptions of the effects on the cards or the rooms was a little bit confusing sometimes. But apart from that, I felt it was great. Also, this game is really easy to set up and it plays very quickly. So it's something I could get off shelf all the time and just play it between other games again. The other thing I like is that it's unusual to see a worker placement game without those resources to actually manage. So because there was no like extra things on the table, I think it's a great game for beginners because there's no extra pieces going around or anything. You just got 2 types of tokens and your meeples. Okay, and that brings us on to the total score for Dice Hospital by Alley Cat Games. And in this case, it's got a 7.3. That means I feel it's a good game, but I feel it's kind of held back by the beat your own score aspects. I quite enjoyed what I was doing from turn to turn, but for me, it just kind of didn't hit the same notes as other worker placement games that I could play. So for that reason, that's why it's got a 7.3 out of 10. Anyway, if you like the look of this game or anything you see on the shelf behind me, please feel free to check out the link to Firestone Games in my description. Also, if you've been enjoying the content, I've just hit over 500 subscribers, so I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching. And most of all, I want anyone who's watching who isn't subscribed already to please smash that subscribe button up there and check out another one of my videos up here. Anyway, I've been Johnny, you've been watching the Hexy Beast, and most of all, stay Hexy everyone!